5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What's good, Council of Comics? This is going to be a council conversation. I was sitting down thinking, how can I start talking about stuff, about comics and all that? And I said, hey, I could talk about how I got into comic books as a young child. So stick around and I'll tell you a little story.
Hey everybody, it's me, Josh, and you're watching Council of Comics.
So, how I got into comic books, I have to thank my mom, rest in peace, Heavenly Mom. When I was young, I forget the age, but I was young. I want to say between the 7 and 10 age range. My mother was adamant about me being able to read, doing my schoolwork, just, increasing my knowledge as I grew. And she was very big on me reading. So what she did was she bought this encyclopedia of novels. And they had novels like Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Little Women. It's like a volume of like 20 books, right? And so my mother, she knew how to make a deal. She was like, how can I get this kid to read? So she's like, all right, for each one of these books that you read and you give me a little summary for, I'll give you $5. Now this is $5, ladies and gentlemen. This is like in 1980, late 80s, where $5 could get you 5 comic books, maybe 6 comic books, depending on where you're at, right? So I was like, bet, $5? I can read all these. I read the first one, got my $5. Read the second one, I started to get like headaches. And just reading, it became like a drag reading the novels. So I slowly started to drift off, and my mother would be like, well, you didn't read, don't you want to get your $5? And I'm like, I was like, I want to, but the more I read the novels, I get a strain on my brain, and it's just it's not working for me. And she was a little disappointed. She was like, okay. And then one day, we went to Rite Aid in the Zayres Ames Plaza in Newburgh, and my mother went in to get a prescription. And so, I like to walk around the stores, especially to the book racks and stuff, magazine racks. And then I look at one of the magazine racks. This is when they used to sell comic books in stores besides comic shops. And there were comic books on the magazine rack. And I remember one of them was, I believe, Avengers Annual. The one that was the Evolutionary War, and it had the High Evolutionary like that, holding the world. And I had grabbed that one. I grabbed an X-Men. I think I grabbed a Spider-Man and a G.I. Joe, and they were $1 a piece. So I went to my mom, I said, Mom, can I have these? And she's like, what is that? I was like, well, it's comic books. And she goes, comic books? I was like, yeah. I was like, look, I can read them. They have words. So I had to open up and show her that they really had words. They weren't like some little kiddie books, but they also had art. And she knew I loved to draw. I loved to draw. Like in school, I was drawing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for everybody. And they were like these low-class drawings, but as a kid, they were like beloved by my fellow students, and they all wanted me to draw them like a Michelangelo or a Raphael. My favorite was Raphael, and I love drawing. That's a story. That's another video. But she was like, okay, all right, and she bought them for me. And we were going to Puerto Rico, so it was a summer vacation. During the summers, most Puerto Ricans out there will tell you when you're a kid, you get sent to your grandmother's house in Puerto Rico for the 2 months to stay with your grandparents. And They say it's for our good, but I knew it was for them to be able to, you know, relax a little bit. But I would go to Puerto Rico. They would stay there for like a couple weeks, but then they would leave and leave me in Puerto Rico for the rest of the 2 months. So I had these like 4 or 5 comic books, and I would just read them and read them and read them and read them and read them, and just kept going through them and going through them. And I just became like obsessed with them, and I just loved it because the art was phenomenal. The stories, I could read them. They were on a level where I could read. They had a depth to them that was great. But the only problem in Puerto Rico is there wasn't really any comic book shops back then. There weren't even really stores that actually sold comic books. There was one place in the MyOS Mall. They had like, it wasn't like Marvel comic books. It was just like some Donald Duck stuff. So I had to wait until I got home to be able to go to the store and get more comic books. And as soon as I got home, I would run to the comic book racks. I remember where they would be. They'd be the spinner racks. And the spinner racks would have the comics in them. And I would go look for the next issue. And it'd be like 2 issues ahead because I've been in Puerto Rico for the summer. And this is when they would do the bi-weekly 2 times a month. So some of the books I was like 3 issues behind. And I was like, and then some of them, you know, you dig in the spinner racks and they have some from a couple months ago. But I remember there was the following year, I went to Puerto Rico again, and I had X-Men 256 that started the Mandarin Acts of Vengeance series with the X-Men. And I took that to Puerto Rico, and I just was reading it, and I came back home, and they had 258, but they didn't have 257. Nobody had 257. No matter, everywhere I went to the Rite Aid, went to Lloyd's. How many people you out there remember Lloyd's? Ran to Lloyd's. Oh God, Lloyd's. I remember that Hulk 340 being there, and I never bought it. But anyway, Lloyd's, they didn't have it. So I was like, how am I gonna get this book? I want this book. And it was the famous X-Men 257 with Wolverine being crucified on the X. So I remember looking in the comic books, and they had like the Mile High inserts. And the Mile High inserts, you know, you could order comic books. And I was like, So back in the days, what you had to do is you find the book that you wanted, right? The book I wanted, I think it was like $3 or $4, right? So you'd have to get a piece of paper, and you'd have to write, "To whom it may concern, I would like to purchase Uncanny X-Men number 257. I have enclosed a check," because I would have to go to my dad, and I'd be like, "Pops, can I get this book?" And you know, I'd have my little Christmas money or whatever, and he's like, "Yeah," and he'd write a check for me and everything. I was like, "I have enclosed a check for $5. Please send to the address, blah blah." And then you put that in the envelope, you sealed it, you put a stamp on it, and you put it out there, and you sent it, and on faith, you had to think, they're gonna get that letter, and they're gonna send me back my comic book. So they say, right? So I did that, and it took a couple months, and I had almost forgotten about that I had ordered it. And then on the table one day when I came home from school, there was this brown package, and it had my name on it. It didn't just have my dad's name, which is my same name. It had my middle name on it, Samuel Vincent. I said, "This package is for me." And I looked at it. It said, "From Mile High. My book has arrived." So I tore it open, and there was my book, X-Men 257. And that was the first time I ever ordered a comic book off of those inner pages. And I just remember the joy that it brought me, that I finally had that back issue book. I finally was able to complete the story that I read. And that just gave me even more of a love. And at that time, I had about 30 or 40 comics by that time. So I bought a little short box at a comic book shop, which is Stonehenge. And that's gonna be another video. Like my first comic book shop, that'll be another video. But I remember I'd always take this short box with me everywhere I go. all my comic books during the summer when I wouldn't go to Puerto Rico, all summer. Wake up, got the short, actually it was a long box because they didn't have short boxes back then. So it was a long box and I would just fill it up, go buy comic books. They were only $1. And I'd every summer take it down to the living room, take it down to the basement, put them out on the floor, open them up, read them. Oh yeah, this and that, blah, blah, blah. Because there was no internet. There was no going online and looking up stories or anything like that. You had to actually go and open the book and read the book. And that, you know, that's how I really got into comic books. And my parents, they encouraged it because I was reading, which I thank them very much. Every time I would go to Walden Books, we would go to the Newburgh Mall and they would give me $5. And, you know, back then they're very trusting your kids, you know, here's $5, go to the arcade. And I would take the $5 and I would go to Walden Books first. And I would see if any of my comic books were there. And I was big on Amazing Spider-Man, Uncanny X-Men, and G.I. Joe. Those were my 3 big ones. And I would look to the spinner rack and I would get them. There might be 2 of them there. And then the rest of the money would be for the arcade. So I'd be like $2 or $3 for the arcade. Because the arcade, it was only a quarter each time you play. At Spaceport in Newburgh Mall. Jeez, what stories? That could be another story as well. But yeah, so that's how I got into comic books. I still to this day think it's a great thing for kids to do and to get them on a path for more reading. So I encourage that out there, you guys that are collectors, you got kids, get them to read some comic books. It will open up their mind to reading more. And it's just a great thing to help build them fundamentally in literacy. And plus they'll have a good time. It's good art, all that, it'd be great. All right, so that's our video. Make sure you are subscribed because that's the only way that you can win our greatest monthly giveaway in comics. Yes, we have a subscriber giveaway and a membership giveaway. Subscriber giveaway, all you got to do is tune into our lives. Sunday, 5 p.m., 2 p.m. Pacific, film and box office news. Monday, 8 p.m., 5 p.m. Pacific for new keys and hot comics of the week. Wednesdays at 8 p.m., 5 p.m. Pacific for the Council of Comics Lives, our live hangout. You can come join us. And every other Thursday, fill in the blanks, our drawing show with C. Bizzle, Green Shirt Guy, and Phil. And you watch the lives and we put a hashtag up. And if you happen to put the hashtag in the comments and spin and win, you get a duck. You can also get ducks through our membership. There's different levels there. The first level will give you a membership duck and 2 subscriber ducks. So you can get into the prize pool that way as well. All right, so that's the video. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you for checking us out. Make sure you check out all the tons of other videos that we have on here. I'm really thankful for you guys watching. God bless you guys out there. We love you, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
The brightest day. Where are the heroes?